No,
Now you do public comments, I think, don't you?
yes, so public comments, I see we have one attendee here. It looks like Alex joined us again. I'm not sure if he can speak or if we need to do anything for that. Oh, you're muted, Aaron.
Alex, sorry. Alex, if you want to speak tonight, just raise your hand and we'll let you do so. Otherwise, we'll let you listen. Okay, no hand raised this time.
All right, cool. Well, if he wants to chime in on anything, we can always add him in later, right?
Sure.
Just got another email. Sorry, I got another email from Michael. He said there is no link on the calendar website.
Can you just forward him the link that you used to log on?
Yeah, why don't I
Well,
do that?
he'd log in as you, so,
Oh,
which it doesn't matter. He could just change his name at this point. It doesn't. really
right.
make that much difference.
We'll know who it is.
Just, we can rename him so that.
Yeah, I'll just forward him this. After 3 years of so much Zoom, you'd think we'd all have this so dialed in, but it does seem like it changes. All right, well, hopefully that works. We'll, if not, we'll figure it out. Okay, so the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Anybody?
I move that we approve the minutes. I couldn't think what the verb was. I move we approve the minutes.
I
All right.
second. This is Dan.
Second that, Dan. Perfect. Great. And then we already did our guests, public comments. And at this time, it doesn't seem that there are any. Alex, if you want to join us, just raise your hand and I think we can take care of it from there. The committee membership, there hasn't been any changes there that I've been aware of. So that's good. I believe we still have a alternate space available. Oh, look, there's another John Bean. Perfect. So that worked.
You just want to rename yourself. Either of you.
My future self is going to have hair. It's going to be glorious.
You're also going to be a lot older.
Okay. And then in terms of the agenda, I wanted to kind of take it from here. And one of the things I was looking at was our shared drive that we have. So I wanted to take a moment and discuss that with the group and get some feedback, and then also just have a collaborative kind of discussion, and maybe Jeannie can work with us to either walk through some steps in uploading files or just kind of share what's available. I'm guilty as anyone of not updating my files. So my plans are living on my computer in the Word documents, and I did try to update them, but it was a few years ago. So looking at what we have on there, I see a lot of really old and outdated information. There's some great stuff, but I think it's really important that we take some time to feel comfortable navigating the shared drive and updating the bits that we've been working on for our group. You know, whether it's just for better collaboration or for turnover or anything like that, just really to kind of keep our mission moving forward. So yeah, so I did that. I spoke with Jeannie, and she can she's put together a lot of great documents already to kind of walk us through there. Does everybody that's on the call tonight know how to do that, or has anyone tried or have questions?
I did it. I can't say I remember how.
Well, let me just interject with, after I talked to John, I went to the shared drive and I deleted a bunch of really old obsolete documents. So I cleaned it up a little bit. I only saw documents from Ginny, John, Lyanne, and myself. So has anybody else uploaded documents that I'm not seeing in that shared drive? No?
Doesn't sound like
I
it.
don't think anybody who's here would have.
Well,
Okay.
anything that anyone is working on is, if, you know, the master plan or works in progress could be uploaded.
Mhm.
I think that's what the John is leaning towards, like to have more collaborative work up there. In the handout that I, printed, and that's up there showing you how to upload. I believe in there, it's also to make your documents open for comments. So a long time ago, when we first started this, we were talking about, editing documents, and we agreed that anything that you put up, keep it for, mark it for comments, so that somebody, if anyone else is reading it, they can add a comment without changing the document. It's like a sticky note. The master plan is probably the most important thing, that people could read other people's master plan to try to get an idea of if they're stuck on how to proceed with their own portion. My crosswalk documents are up there. I could have used comments, but they're now live on the website. So
Yeah, I mean, we're all so siloed, and especially in this like digital world. So, and I know that I work better just as a group, even if it is digitally, like by just, if Michael uploads his project with the north-south routes and has the bits written up there, it'd be great to chime in, hey, this is a question for that, or maybe we should clarify, or just something. So just, I mean, we can give it a try, and if it doesn't work, but when I was going through there, because I was like, well, geez, if I'm the chair and I haven't uploaded anything in a couple of years, this is not so good.
well, coming up, Dan, I missed the last two meetings, but when I read through the minutes, I understand like things are going to start happening with the parking lot, the open parking lot, and with the bike rodeo. So that would be a really great time to try to work collaboratively on documents, just ideas, maybe have an idea page, or just something to get into the swing of going to the shared drive and looking at what other people are doing and making comments or suggestions, that could positively move a project along.
And just real quick, I'm trying right now to upload the flyer that I want to show later on, and maybe Aaron can access that when we get to that point in the meeting. But Gina, I think that's absolutely correct, and I prefer to work through documents as opposed to files flying around.
Yeah.
Great. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, even if I was even, and I don't know if this would be allowable by the town, but I was even thinking if we could store our minutes or our agendas in here. I guess they're on the town site too, but
Why would it not be allowed? It would just, somebody would have to do it. Blythe, instead of emailing it around, you could upload it to the shared drive, and then everyone could just go up and access it.
I can do both. It's not a big deal. So I can email it and I'll put it in the shared drive after I email it once they're approved, I'll put them in the shared drive. Yeah. Right.
Technically, as public agency, your records should be available to the public if
Okay.
requested. So there's a little challenge currently with having your documents on a Google Drive and not necessarily accessible from town hall or town campus. I think we're moving in the direction of utilizing Google as opposed to Microsoft Outlook. And so I think we'll have more options available moving forward. But as long as a staff member has access to that to be able, if somebody requests or, under the Freedom of Information Act, that we provide copies of something. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but just in case.
Does it
Does
have
that,
either or? Could it just be like, for our use only onto the shared drive, but also on the website, for anyone who wants to look at it?
Do you have a designated page on the website where you're keeping all of these documents?
That
Not yet.
I don't know. Does anyone upload it to?
I mean, the minutes and the agendas are kept, but as far as other documents, as long as either Rob or I had access to the shared drive, in case somebody had requested that, that's okay for now. That would be sufficient. I don't.
And just, and for anybody,
questioning that, but
and for anybody who wants to check, I think I just shared it with everybody on this secret list here. So if you want to just check real quick or later on, at least something's been added and you've theoretically been added to it. So
It came through.
that's for later.
Okay, cool.
a question about what the requirements are, Aaron, related to documents. I mean, if it's a work in progress, is that something that's supposed to be kept on the town website also?
no, it doesn't mean it has to be on the town website. It just has to be accessible to
Oh,
the
okay.
public if requested. So
Okay.
having at least a staff member who has access to that, if somebody comes seeking that information, that's really what we need to maintain at this point. It does not have, nothing has to be posted. There's no requirement on the website, aside from agendas and minutes.
I'll keep emailing them. I'll keep emailing them when they're approved, like the way I've been doing, because I think that's what I'm supposed to do. But then I'll also put them in the shared drive for this group. So that way it would be shared with the staff member and on the.
Typically, because you share them with, for the email meetings, right? You send things to meetings for agendas.
I email them to Rob after they're approved.
And so when agendas are done after your meeting, you draft the minutes, excuse me, not agendas. After the meeting, you draft the minutes, and those need to be submitted to the town clerk's office within, it's 5 or 7 business days.
It's like 7 days, but I thought they had to be, distributed to everybody within 7 days, and then I get the feedback, and then after they're approved tonight. So this would be last month's minutes, right? So when they're approved tonight, then I send them, after the meeting, I send them to Rob.
No. What happens is after the meeting, within 7 days, they get posted to the clerk's office with the heading subject to approval. And then at the next meeting, the committee will review them and make notes in the minutes of any changes to those. So the changes to those are documented in the next month's minutes. And
So that within 7 days has to go to Rob, so it has to go to everybody and Rob. And then if anybody has comments, they have to get back to within 7 days, or no? No, because it's pending. Okay, so I just need to make sure I send it to him.
Right. So, and this is all going to change. The town clerk is rolling out new software that agendas need to be entered directly into this software on the website, and minutes need to be entered directly in them. And then when you hit submit, they're posted. So there's, I don't know if you've gotten an email from the town clerk's office.
I did, telling me I had to go to a Zoom training, and I may or may not have done that.
Sign up. I'm going to the Monday session.
It sounds really super. Okay, all right, I'll do it.
That's technically what, I mean, it's a little less press. You're still bound by FOIA laws, and there's likely not going to be people banging down the door looking for this information for this type of committee. But when we look at regulatory boards and things like that, it does get a little more.
Yeah, I mean, I've got them. I just think I have to figure out when to get them in. So it's fine.
Yeah,
I'll
so
get it sorted.
when you're done, send them in. Hit minute, send it to meetings. We can give you that address, or send it to Rob and say, Rob, please post. And then everybody else has an opportunity to wait, review them, and then you talk about them at the next meeting. You don't have to go back and correct those meeting minutes and repost them. Basically, the notes from your next month's meeting will say, oh, so-and-so had a change in paragraph 3 of page 2 of last month's meeting.
Oh, okay.
Documents it that way. And
Okay.
really, minutes don't have to be very detailed. Technically, they're only a record of actions by the
Okay.
committee. This isn't like a verbatim transcript that you can, don't make yourself crazy with that.
Okay. Yeah, well, I've been using the form, but it's fine. I'll get it sorted. I'll go to the Zoom
Yeah,
training.
keep it simple is easiest.
Okay.
Sure.
So yeah, so and to that, I think it'll help all of us, because I know when I pulled together a lot of my information for the town plan and areas like that, I pulled a lot of insights from some of the tools that we had in the RSA workbook and some of the other audits. So, we for the past many years, we've been plugging away and putting some files on there, which is good. But I know that in the last year or two, the group's created a lot more. So hopefully if we start utilizing this, it's going to become better. So the more we put into it, the more we'll get out of it. The barriers for me have always been just going there and then uploading files, because I would forget the sheet that showed me the directions, and then life goes on and you're doing something else. So let's give this a try. What I would ask of everybody is to update if you have a network plan that you've worked on, or if it's something for like your parking lots, Dan, or the open lots. Let's just put a lot on there, and then we can worry about organizing it and filing it properly. And I think just through that exercise, we'll kind of see what weaknesses and what pitfalls we need to correct. But I do think that it will help us kind of propel, because we've been working on this for a while. It'd be great to get some things concrete, so that when we are ready to make moves, we have it all there, and we don't need to search through our emails, which is kind of how I do it. So that would be awesome. Jeannie's said that she would love to help anyone that can't get in or has questions. And I might take her up on that. So, but I did a test this just recently, and I was able to upload files, no problem. The thing I would love to do is I'd love to see collaborative Word-like files where we could put on our plan. And then if David has something he wants to add to my plan, he can type a note and it'll say that that's from David. And then I go back and read it. And I think that would be great, because a lot of what we do goes on kind of off office hours. All right. Well, if that sounds good, we'll just keep cruising on. See if I can read and conduct a meeting here. This is tough, Jenny.
I know. It's a juggling act. You're doing very well.
Thanks. So I have crosswalk update. I just wanted to check in and see what was going on, because we haven't heard much about that. Or
I know I have nothing, no report. There's no communication to me, or apparently to our committee, from the Board of Selectmen about the crosswalk. So it is live on the website, on the MadisonConnecticut.org/BPAC webpage. I don't know if anyone has filled out the application. I did email Cindy. She said her organization was still interested, and they have first right of refusal, the diversity organization in town. And I've reached out to people and I haven't heard back. So I don't know what's happening. Unfortunately, I have no update at this point.
are there any timelines or deadlines that we need to be aware of with this?
It's really in the hands of the Board of Selectmen right now.
Okay.
The only time constraint is painting would have to be done during warmer months. You couldn't do it in the wintertime.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I'm hoping that when they get an application, they will reach out to somebody on this committee.
Okay. And then that was still over by Academy School, right? Is that the same area?
I think it was over.
Actually, that's sort of what's up in the air, isn't it,
I
Jean?
think that's it. That was kind of what was in
Senior
flux.
center, I thought.
It,
Well,
no.
it
over
was and
by
then it
the
wasn't.
Congregational church, in that like behind the green, in between the green and the church there is the area that they had pinpointed at
Mhm.
one point, at one time.
I think that was the
I thought
original
it was the
spot.
crosswalk in front of the senior center.
No, but that would be great. I'm not aware of that.
That's what it
I would,
was.
that would be great.
No, that was one of the, I thought that was the
I
last
think
one.
that is the location.
But then I think they pulled back from that.
Well, the last,
I think Public Works didn't like that, or I don't know what.
Well, Public Works didn't like the idea of a.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But
When did-
using an existing crosswalk, I think, was what was recommended as opposed to the expense of having to add a new crosswalk on Meeting House Lane, which is why I think they went with the one near the senior center.
okay. I did not hear that. The last I heard was when it was approved by the Board of Selectmen, and I thought it was Meeting House Lane. But maybe there was some time
Go
thereafter.
through the minutes, maybe.
Okay,
I don't remember when it was though.
yeah.
I think
It
the
was a while
problem,
ago.
the
Yeah.
problem at Meeting House Lane was that they were gonna have to like build curbing and make it a real, you know,
Accessible ramp.
yes, accessible and blah, blah, blah. And so it,
Right, because the original thought was to not make it, not have an official crosswalk and put it over there. But
I think that's where Public Works got a little upset.
So I don't know if anyone, reaches out to anyone at the Board of Selectmen, please let me know. I would, or if any could do anything. I don't know where it stands right now.
Yeah. Well,
I
we want to keep it somewhat on the burner just so it doesn't disappear.
Well, it's
Um,
live on the website.
Yeah.
So I think if there was an application, maybe we would hear. And I don't know, I can reach out to Cindy again to see if they have completed it, but the application requires, a decent amount of effort by the organization to come up with the plan.
Yeah. Maybe now that it's going to be warmer soon, maybe
Oh,
it wouldn't be a bad time to circle back and just make sure that they have an application in, because I could just see that this would get stale and it might sit there and just nothing will happen.
I'll do that. I'll reach out again.
Yeah, it might be worth it just to see.
Yeah.
All right, Public Works update. This will be perfect because Rob's not even here. No. What I wanted and what we spoke about last time was just get more visibility on Public Works schedule for roads that they're planning to do, and maybe projects that would also impact some of the areas that we're serving.
I thought Rob sent you a list of paving. Did he do
Yeah,
that?
so he just did. Yeah, so
Oh, okay,
he
good.
did send that today. So
Excellent.
through email, I reached out and said if he could pull anything together by this meeting, that would be excellent. So he did. So we got a list of their kind of forecasted resurfacings for the next year. And I think it'll be best, I looked through it, but it'll be best if we can kind of look at this with Rob too, because they have scores and they're kind of ranked. So I want to know, if one has a higher score, is that good or bad? And then maybe we can see how that will fit into some of the roads that we've looked at with our plans. So that was great to see, because I know that we've kind of struggled to get that over the years.
Would that be something that you could upload to the shared drive?
I think so. Yeah, I didn't even download it. I just saw it in my email today.
I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Everybody's frothing. It's
not that exciting.
it's not that exciting. I looked through, I mean, Scotland is on there, Dan, which is phenomenal. There's several roads in North Madison that none of us will ever ride or walk on, but they're great neighborhood routes for the people that live there. I'm sure it'll be phenomenal. but I don't see it impacting our routes in terms of like north-south, east-west, or around town and beaches and things like that.
Well, selfishly, I want to know if my street's on it. And also, Aaron, you don't know how slow my life is. So any little bit of joy is very exciting for me.
We'll get that up there right away, Dan.
I'll send you some easy reading, Dan.
Yeah. Maybe you could decipher the score, because each road has a score. And I was like, well, maybe that's the distance versus how terrible it is. But then I could think of a few roads that were pretty terrible that weren't on there too. So who knows? But I think that's great. And again, I think, maybe something we want to consider is like a liaison to Public Works from the group. That might be a nice kind of side project for one of us, or maybe they have meetings or something where we can just try to strengthen the relationship. Because I think for us to see some actionable items get done around town, we're gonna need to have a good relationship there. And it sounds like there's a lot on their plate. So it was awesome to see that. And then Aaron, I have on here just kind of funding. I wasn't sure if anything changed, just because we only meet once a month. I'd imagine not, but if there's anything you want to add to what's going on, that'd be cool.
I don't have an update on funding, aside from, well, we're currently utilizing funds through the UPWP program with SCROG for our West Wharf, Boston Post Road, Surf Club Road bike pedestrian improvement study, and that's underway now. That was a $40,000 grant app award, basically through the Regional Council of Governments. We're working, Johnny Anako, the town engineer, and I have been working with SCROG and the consultant, getting basically existing conditions established and some options for improvements, basically recommended locations for sidewalks, and identifying where we would have some problems. We have scheduled a public information session that I just completed the outreach flyer today. So that's going to go out individually to property owners along the route, but also as a blast through the town and notifying Historic District Commission. I was hoping that you would be able to put that on your social media, and we'll tie it into the town's website as well. So I'll forward all of that information to you tomorrow. It's going to be an in-person meeting on March 21st in town campus in meeting room A at 6 o'clock. And it's basically an opportunity to introduce the study to residents and try to get some feedback on thoughts. I thought it would be important to reach out in the earlier phases of the project rather than coming in with a set design and saying, hey, by the way, we were doing all of this work and we came up with this idea. Now we want to share it with you, rather than hear what you have to say in the initial phases. So we're hoping to get some decent feedback from residents. One of the larger property owners in the area is, of course, the golf course. So we're, buy-in from residents and adjacent property owners is going to be really important to actually implement this project.
There was some interest from the golf course in the recent history where they expressed interest in something like that. But
yeah,
I believe they
because
also
wanted
wanted to
be
use
able
their
to
golf
drive
cart.
their vehicles on it as well.
Right.
So not exactly the same concept, but
Sure.
we're
Is that
hoping
public-
that they'll be
Is
interested.
that meeting going to be available on Zoom also, or just in person?
No, it's going to be an in-person only meeting.
Okay.
I am unable to attend that meeting and host as a Zoom, and so the engineering department and our engineering consultants are going to be there in person to present. So hopefully we'll get a good turnout. Weather's getting nicer, and it's early enough, I think, that it will start at 6 o'clock. So hopefully we can
Mhm.
get some folks out there. It shouldn't take too long, And there's no real designs at this point. There's just concepts to talk about.
What are the endpoints for that route, Aaron?
It's going to intersect at the Guilford Savings Bank. Well, basically the intersection of, I shouldn't say, that would be if it's on the north side. It looks at this point that the most feasible design option would be the south side of Boston Post Road at the intersection of Meigs Avenue, running down to West Wharf Road, crossing West Wharf Road and running down the west side, the golf course side. Onto Surf Club Road. Surf Club Road is a little bit more challenging. There's a lot of tidal wetlands there. The right-of-way is not as wide. So that we may have to look at some alternatives, even as if we can't fit a full 4-foot sidewalk, or 5-foot sidewalk, I should say, we may have to do some striping and, you know, moving of lanes over to at least try to create some type of interim safe access without having to address, you know, the culverts under the road, tidal wetlands, possible filling or raising of the road. This really kind of can snowball, I think. So, you know, this, hopefully we get some concepts, and then we had put in the capital improvement program to request funding for actual design, engineering design and construction of this sidewalk. So we'll see. There are some topographic challenges on some of the properties on the south side of Boston Post Road, especially as you get closer to West Wharf, which would require removal of trees and grading of properties and retaining walls. So it really depends on the buy-in of property owners for some of those improvements.
South side's better, I guess, than the north side with that big rock wall sorts there.
Yeah, and the idea is also to try and incorporate a crosswalk across Boston Post Road from West Wharf to Lantern Hill. That would be ideal. So these are just some ideas that we're trying to toss around now and now get some feedback from residents and property owners. And then as far as, I'll just finish my updates now, I guess. The master plan for Scrog has found or decided that there would be a benefit in having regional bike pedestrian plan as well. And so they're looking to utilize UPW dollars in the next round to offer that to various municipalities within our membership. And then each town would have their insert into that. So they're still on track for funding, you know, formalizing a master plan for the town. There hasn't been any progress as far as applications or anything like that, but John did check with the transportation planner there just last week to double check we haven't missed anything, or, you know, we haven't heard any updates. And he said, nope, we still have you earmarked, and we're hoping to do this even on a broader scale throughout the COG. So we'll let you know. Hopefully we should have some more information by next month. But that likely that project wouldn't become active until late summer, early fall. And our current study is supposed to wrap up by the end of June. That's the funding source works.
Cool.
So Aaron, it sounds like there's a mixture of, with the route that you described, it does go over some private property, and there will be like easement needs and things like that. Is that the case?
We haven't established that yet, David.
Okay.
The hope is that the improvements can be done within the right of way, that we don't have to have or require encroachments on private property.
Well, you're
a little more, I guess it depends where, you know, as we get into the actual design.
Right.
Boston Post Road is a 50-foot right of way, so we should have enough room there. It just really depends on the extent of grading on some of the properties where we have that steep slope up, that we may have to encroach in, maybe one or two. And then Surf Club Road is a little challenging also.
right. Well, you've likely already thought of this, but that's like especially in a public meeting forum, that's like the private property rights thing is dicey territory. So if there's some way at the outset that we can message that, what you just said, I think that that's really important.
Well, that's why I wanted to approach people early on and get feedback and to see if we have buy-in for the project in general. It's really hard. And we looked at this when we did the Woodland Route 79 sidewalk project. Luckily, all the property owners were willing and excited to have that sidewalk, but there were some questions regarding grading or potential impacts to private property. And in that case, there were 2 encroachments on private property that those property owners are willing to deed that area to the town and basically widen the right of way. But in the case of Boston Post Road, that's a state road. So we'll tackle that one.
I'm going to be out of town on the 21st. And is there anything this committee or any of us can do in advance of that to support?
Yeah, I mean, spread the word and try to get people out and the value of having this connection. I think connecting our Madison Center to our town park, as well as, we'd be close at that point, getting closer to West Wharf and our hotel. So that link to both the downtown shopping center and our future community center, I think would be great. There's always so much foot traffic in that area. This really is a desirable link to the downtown.
Just look at all the kids that do that route in the summer and in the warmer months going from town to surf club. You always see them crossing Route 1 right there by Lantern Hill. It's terrifying.
I know. My child's one of them.
Yeah. Mine will be, I'm sure. But it's always like, oh no. I mean, I grew up doing that sketchy cross, but there weren't as many cars. That's cool. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll
make this happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's see. David, I had you on here for other funding. I mean, you gave us a nice rundown last week. The one thing I was thinking is please try to update anything that you think that we might want to have on that G drive. Just, you've put some awesome pen to paper there, and love to have that.
I'm happy to upload that one pager to that I did the screen share on last month, and other than that, there really is no update except for I'm looking forward to Dan's item on the agenda, because it's possible with the open parking lots and the bike rodeo and some of this other stuff, and maybe even the crosswalks. I don't know if we need sponsorship or private money for paint or other supplies for crosswalks, but as items come up, I hope people will email the group or email me, because it's not too late to try to raise private money for activities this spring and summer. And Aaron, I'm still going to come darken your door and talk about like how we could somehow situate this, if it's not too late, in some kind of like an FY24 budget for a town.
David, I know we'll get to another section coming up soon, but would it help at all if you had some kind of itemized estimated budgetary need? I'm talking like, $500 or something like that, but would that help you and John to start thinking about whether this is worth pursuing this kind of stuff? I can create that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just, that thing I shared, the one pager just has some placeholder items of, $100, $250, $500, $1,000. The $250 line item had some, cyclist helmets and safety lights for distribution at the walk bike events. So if I think you have this, Dan, and I will put it on the share drive, but if there are other like tangible budget items, especially if we can tie them to a date needed by or a specific event, that would be very helpful. And then I bank at Guilford Savings Bank. I don't mind like I give them my personal business. I don't mind like asking them if, they'll pay for something like this, or trying to, Ginny might have relationships with people at the Chamber of Commerce. Like everybody has those kinds of relationships around town. And so if we're collectively just sort of talking up some of these needs, I think, knock on wood, like perhaps the money will follow.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea though, and to have those placeholders. So yeah, Dan, when you're planning your events and doing that, I think that's a great idea. So then we have the network plans. I wish I didn't edit Ginny's template too much, because I took everybody off and now I can't remember who's who. But the goal of taking everybody off was, a lot of the updates there are no updates. So what I wanted to do was spend the time where there are updates. So Michael had reached out and he has some progress with the north-south routes. So I'd love to hear more about that. Looks like there was some great detail put into this. Michael, I'm not sure if you can share.
Yeah.
Or
I don't, gosh, I hope I can share.
do you see the
Yes,
green?
I can.
Okay,
I can.
cool.
Yeah. So let me start by thanking Lyanne, because when I came onto the committee, she kind of took me aside and said, will you work on this north-south route network thing with me? And I said, sure. And mostly it was going back and forth with her, trying to describe routes by text. And so I'll give you a look at what we think is final. And I think Lyanne posted this on the G drive. But then I'll go through some slides that I think are much more illustrative of what it is that we're trying to do. So can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is, sorry, let me see if I can get rid of the pictures. There we go. This is the north side. I mean, this is something that I walked into, right? I didn't create this. I don't know much about it. I didn't know much about it. But the text is, the content is kind of dense and dry, right? So here's Route 79 and Summerhill Road, and Opening Hill and Norton Town Road, and Route 1 to Route 79 via Dudley, River Road, Duck Hole, etc. So that's posted, and you can read that at your leisure and certainly make comments on it. But what I really wanted to share was something that in my mind is a little bit more accessible. Yeah, which is this. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Good.
Yes.
Okay. So based on that text and alignment between Lyanne and I created this today, and looking for feedback. But I think it's relatively comprehensive. So I'm just going to walk through these the different routes that we propose, so that you'll find that they're all set up similarly. I tried to do this in a similar way. So the first thing, to name the route, it's Route 79, and then show that the termini of the route here and here in these blue circles, and then ripping off Google Maps, converting a map image to a PDF by printing to PDF, and then adding arrows in PowerPoint. You can follow the route here. And so then once we've got the route kind of mapped out, we describe the recommendations for biking and pedestrians. And so the first recommendation on 79 is a separated bike lane. And what we've done is include the images that come off of the toolbox document that comes, I believe, from the state. So on Route 79, the first recommendation is this separated bike lane. And you can see that that's quite a construction. But it provides the greatest safety on a road that many people drive 50 or 55 on. And that has a lot of volume. And then the second recommendation is a buffered bike lane. So you can see here, this is defined by these two white lines and multiple icons of a bicyclist. Whereas in the separated bike lane, there's actually a roadway separation between vehicles and the drivers. And this gives you the cartoon for the buffered bike lane down here. So that's the Route 79 recommendation. And then Summerhill Road.
Michael, is there
Sure.
room? Is there room on Route 79 to do that?
Well, right now there's the emergency lanes. And
Yeah,
those are, I think, about 4 to 6, 4 feet or so, 4 to 5 feet on each side of the road. So the idea would be to convert those to something, one or another of these two options. So the hope would be that you wouldn't need any novel, de novo construction,
mhm.
but just, build these lanes. But it's unclear to me who actually has the final word on something like that.
That would
Whether-
be the state DOT, I'm sure.
Yeah, or Public Works, or some of the people that I think Aaron was talking about earlier. It's not known to me, that much I can tell you. But happy to follow through with anybody who's working on the master plan to figure out how to implement. I think the sort of seat of the pants strategy was, when if there's ever a construction project on any of these roads, to kind of insert ourselves or work with the DPW to get these recommendations in front of them to see what they think. And in the absence of any construction on the roads, I'm unclear about what the process should be in order to get these implemented. So again, any help that anyone can provide would be great, or an overarching strategy about the entire master plan, of course, would be helpful as well. But that's a big bite.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. I mean, that realistically, we're not going to see Route 79 be converted into a shared pathway in addition to what's there, but there may be the available space in some areas, and it's a good recommendation, especially with the second recommendation, probably like you said, following suit. If there is some resurfacing or repaving, the space is likely there. I can only think of a couple places on 79, more at the southern end, right near, really between Wildcat and 95, that have a few narrow sections.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, and I don't know about you, John, but I stay off of 79 just because the cars are moving so fast.
You said 50, 55. I was thinking more like 60, 70.
70, God, that's a lot. Anyway, yeah, so the simplest thing would be this buffered bike lane that you could turn the emergency lanes into. That would just be paint.
Mhm.
Just be paint. So from there we moved to Summerhill Road again. Summerhill comes off of Chestnut Hill down here at 79 and just travels the entire length up to County Road in North Madison. And as someone who lives off of Summerhill Road, I can tell you I've ridden up and down this road probably 100 times, if not more, and there's nothing to protect cyclists or pedestrians on this road. In fact, it's pretty hazardous to be out around dusk or dawn if you're walking your dogs on this road, because people are commuting. And again, the posted speed limit's 25, but people go as fast as 40 up and down Summerhill Road. So the idea here is the shoulder walkways and sharrows. And I think, to be honest, this would require new construction because the road is so narrow in most places, or widening of the road in order to accommodate this sort of allowance, if you will, for cyclists and pedestrians. But that's the recommendation. And Lyanne and I should have said at the beginning, Lyanne and I took the approach that, look, let's ask for what we want, right? And let people tell us that we can't have it, and then compromise with them on what would be sufficient. So, these are idealized and these are the optimal requests. Sorry, John, you were going to say something.
I was just trying to remember, does Summerhill have yellow strips down the middle of the roadway on the south and north?
I think they might. Yep.
I think
But
the north might not though, right?
That's right. North of 80, it does not.
Yeah. One of the strategies we talked about years ago was where they've removed the center line stripping altogether and then create these sharrows like you have them. And it's kind of a funny strategy because it seems really weird, but basically the idea is it pushes cars to the center of the lane more.
That's right.
And then they only go into that breakdown or emergency lane or over towards that when there are other cars.
That's right.
Because, and I find it too, if I'm on a road driving and nobody else is out on the road, I tend to be pushed over onto the side because of the yellow lines. So that might be a recommendation for Summer Hill, maybe. It's tough with some of the turns on that road, but that might be something to consider as well.
That's a reasonable idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the Summer Hill. That was what we recommended. And then this is the Opening Hill Norton Town Road. Again, now I'm going to go north to south, starting just south of the Rotary, down through here, and then joining up with Norton Town here, and finally to 95. And again, the recommendation is the shoulder walkways and sharrows. And I have to say, I'm less familiar with this particular route on my bike. So I can't comment on whether there are yellow lines or not. But
there are on this one.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. And but I think the status of safety for cyclists and pedestrians is about the same as on Summer Hill.
The unique thing that stands out to me on this, and I do ride this quite a bit, is this goes past a lot of schools. So we have the country school, we have the whole town campus, basically, or not town campus, but the Daniel Hand, more or less, Jeffrey School, and then also Grove School. So this is a unique one, because if we were to see improvements along certain stretches here, this would be a huge boost for the schools.
Right, and I think this is a point that we bring up in the text in the document. For any of these proposed routes that come close to a route for kids to get back and forth to school, we mention that in the text, and of course that strengthens the rationale for investment. But it's a good point. Thanks for pointing that out, John. And then the last one is the Route 1 to Route 79. Again, starting down here on Dudley Lane and curling around onto River Road, then along River Road to Duck Hole Road, and then joining north Horse Pond /450 here. And there's a little section here that's state road, so that may present some challenges. And then 450 goes all the way out to 79, as you know. So we kind of blended our hybrid proposal here to make shoulders and walkways until you get to 450, and then 450 would be buffered bike lane or separated bike lane. And that's depicted on the next slide. So you could see, Route 1 is the sharrows. You've seen the image before. Again, this is Duck Hole. This is Route 1 that you turn onto Dudley Lane, follow River Road to Duck Hole. And then the North Horse Pond Road, Route 50 to Route 79. In this instance, I think, again, it would take a lot more novel construction to build a separated bike lane, but I think a buffered bike lane, given the emergency lane there or the breakdown lane there, would probably be okay. And again, thanks for any feedback. I'm one of those delinquent committee members who hasn't uploaded anything onto the G Drive yet, but I'll be sure to upload these slides so that you all can have a look at them, and please, provide any feedback that you have on either the slides or the document, and happy to entertain questions and uh, have any sort of discussion that you'd like.
That's
Hey,
great.
Michael, I just want to say, this is a bunch of work and I'm very impressed. It's really well put together. It's really well presented. I love the idea of asking for what we want and being told why not. So, or why we can't. So thank you very much for this. I got to tell you, this is, I know we've got a lot of other sections and route areas within town, but the north-south, that's a real tricky one. And, it's going to be whatever it is, but you've at least laid it out. And that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I agree.
Thank you,
It's
Dee.
really well done and beautiful, and very impressed. And I'd like to use this to help myself with my portion of this master plan, because it's really looks great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you both. And, when we're joined by Lyanne next month, please convey the same sort of feedback to her because, basically she schooled me. And, and it was mostly fun.
No, this is awesome. And I mean, just what you said at the beginning is so true. I mean, the text, the dense text is good. We need that to a certain degree, but it's not so accessible, especially when we're trying to share the meaning for what we're looking to do. So this presentation and the screenshots or the PDFs that you created are awesome. And I think we can all take bits of this and use it to strengthen our other areas. So thank you so much.
Again, it's my pleasure, and finally feel that after about a year, make a contribution.
Great. Good job.
So I don't know if anybody wants to follow that up. Personally, I don't have any updates with the networks, and if you do have any updates with yours,
I have a little one. I mean, it's
I
a
like
very short one.
yeah, perfect.
I submitted a request to the State Recreational Trails Program for $500,000 for the new section in Hammonasset.
Wow, that's not little.
That's all I have to say. Well, although I did get, I've already gotten some questions back with the comment that this is one of the high priority projects. So I feel pretty good about that.
Awesome.
Can I
Jenny.
just offer something? In my day job, I'm either reviewing a lot of grants for nonprofits or writing a couple. So it's not anything to do with public works or bicycling or pedestrians, but if there are grants to be written or reviewed or things like that, I'd be happy to contribute to those efforts, because I'm not saying that I've always been successful, but I don't have a bad track record in attracting money from nonprofits and governments that pass out funding, but it has nothing to do with public works. So I'm offering, if you need help.
Do you have any contacts with Joe Courtney's office?
No.
That's great, Jenny.
That's where I'm going to ask for my next $500,000.
Excellent. And then Dan, we've got some time here. Let's jump to your open lots bike rodeo.
Cool.
If you need help sharing that, I pulled it up too, so I can always put your.
Sure. So let me go over some basics real quick before we get to that. So
Okay.
just to remind everybody, and this is for the minutes or whatever we want to do, we've got 3 events coming up. The first one is April 22nd. That is open bike days at what is the name of the school again? I forgot the name of it.
Ryerson.
Sorry, Ryerson. We don't have kids here, so sorry. Yeah, Ryerson. It's from 12 to 2. The second one is May 20th. Same place, 12 to 2. And then we have the bike rodeo on June 24th at the Madison Senior Center. Now, the 2 first ones are a bit of a new thing for this committee. And the first thing I'm going to ask for is who wants to help. The way, again, I see these first 2 events happening, and again, I'm really open for ideas, and it's really just probably dependent on, how much bandwidth anybody's got. I really see as it's simple as the parking lot's going to be clear. We've got some interesting ideas as far as putting a little course in there with some traffic cones that Shoreline Greenway Trail is going to partner and provide for the events. And we're just going to, I see us sitting there with lawn chairs and, cups of coffee and watching kids, ride around in a circle. It could be as simple as that, or it could be anything else. But I think we need at least 2 or 3 people there at 11:30 on both days. And so I'm just looking to see, is anybody willing to do that?
I'm planning on being there,
Right.
Dan.
Thank you. Mike, you're looking like John right now.
I'm
If
in.
anybody else wants to do that, that's fine. Also,
I'll be around May 20th.
great. So May 20th. So we'll just keep track of all that. And again, if I need to do separate meetings other than this, that might be something if you want, or else I'll just sort of use emails and go back and forth with the 3 of you just to share ideas. So just a real quick, the last meeting, we had some questions regarding bathrooms. So the one suggestion was that we're not going to pay for the opening up the building, but there's a possibility that by the April 22nd event, that they may already have the Little League with the bathroom. So I have not driven up there recently. There may be those. This still may be a bit of a show up or leave type of event. I did specifically ask the principal whether we could have a food truck, and prefer not to. So that was the feedback I got. I think it was Claire was going to also talk about working with the students for a possible bake sale. I don't have an update on that. So one thing, can we just share, John, the flyer that Claire put together? It's really cool.
Yep, let me just pull that up.
And again, this is as simple as it is. And Jeannie, I don't know if you're still doing publicity, but that'll be the next question that comes out of this. Just taking a look at it. It's really a nice one.
It's good.
So this is something Claire put together that will go into backpacks. And I don't know how that works, whether it's the week before the event or whether we can do it multiple times. It's really simple, guys, right?
I
This
think
is
it's
really
great.
simple.
It's great.
Yeah.
We could make this as big as you want. I mean, to David's point, if we wanted to go out and look for sponsors for some helmets or something, the one thing I got to tell you, I don't know how many people are going to show up.
Right.
And that was sort of how we were with the rodeo last year. And I think this is even a little bit more flexy. So, if we get, 10 kids showing up, I'll be really happy. I don't know. So any comments on this at all? Any suggestions people would like to make? Any additional ideas for this?
So,
I think-
Dan, how is the word going to be spread?
Well, this is specific, and it can be used for many things. This is specific to a bike, like a backpack flyer that's inserted in the kit with the kids' homework, and it can also be eaten by dogs. So that is how this is going to be distributed.
Okay.
Jeannie, I don't go.
Remember we discussed advertising for the rodeo with those billboard things by Academy School? Could we do?
Great idea. Do we have any of those?
Well, I could have them made. Just like
I
the
think it's-
signs, I could, work on that. Something just like this, or I don't know, more particular, for the rodeo. But I think, you know what I'm talking about, right? Where they
Oh,
put
absolutely.
colors,
So how about the,
what is that called when it's like a stand?
A-frame,
What is it?
the A-frame signs that
Yes.
are there.
Sandwich boards.
Yes.
Yep, we allow those for 2-week periods through the zoning office. You can do, it's a free permit application. So once you have that designed, we can do it.
So
I
we
think the other thing,
Apply for an application. We have to apply for permission.
yes, yep. David's a pro at that. He worked on that for the signs for Share the Road.
We could, I could see if I could get those donated, or we just 1 or 2 of them put them out 2 weeks before each time,
Yeah, you may be able to borrow the frame and just print the sign, we may be able to kind of, or partner with somebody who may already have an A-frame, that you just attach it to for the 2 weeks.
I think that works. And also, I could put it on Instagram, certainly, and Facebook.
Yeah, and Dan, I think you mentioned a paper copy. So the old Backpack Express used to actually be printed paper flyers for things. They're kind of doing away with that and doing it all via email to schools for signing up. So that could likely be arranged through Rita with the town to get those out on the e-blasts for both school-wide and town-wide.
Yeah, I don't know what Claire was doing, but I'll use the word Rita. So what I'll do is I'm going to create a separate email thread with the people that have expressed interest on this, unless you'd like to also be on it, everybody, just to, get those extra ideas, and then we'll have a little bit of a planning on the side. First, the first event is basically 6 weeks away.
Right.
Could be 7 weeks, depending on how you count weeks. But so we, and again, it's cool. I mean, there's plenty of time because I don't see this as a big stress thing. What was I going to say? The other thing is that I did want to ask, and Jeannie, you weren't at the last meeting. We do have signs left over from the rodeo last year. And all I'm trying to do is get some kind of an idea of what do we have left over and what doesn't already have a date on it, which makes it unusable.
But I don't know who has those signs. Remember I was in Texas, so I wasn't at the rodeo. And who stored them? Do you have any idea who has them?
Okay. Well, they were taken. It might be Lyanne, and I don't know if she was at the last meeting, so maybe that's why we still don't know. But anyway, so we'll work that out. I just wanted to ask if we had them, right? That's all it is. The other thing, real cool, and I just want to let people know for the May 20th event, and now that's going to sequence me into the bike rodeo, is that several towns within Shoreline Greenway Trails team of towns are running bike rodeos. And Guilford's going to run theirs on May 20th in the morning. So if anybody wants to see a model of what a bike rodeo might look like if they weren't here last year, you can take a look at that, because I'll be helping with that one as well. Any question or suggestions or ideas on
Would you add
bike days?
me to this, to your thread, your communication thread? Because
You bet.
I can do the 20th, and I'm having a little surgery in a couple of weeks, and I don't know if I'll be able to do it in April, but if I can, I will.
Got it. Okay. You absolutely. Anybody who wants to. Yeah, got Mike. Yep.
I want to be on too, Dan.
Yeah, no, Dan, I was raising my hand to ask a question. What is the intended age range for this?
The age range we use for the bike rodeo, which is sort of the feedback that Ginny and some others had gotten from the parents on this, was 4 to 8. We had kids as young as I think 2 at the rodeo.
Yeah, they were young.
And people are going to bring families if they come to this.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we had an 11-year-old, a 12-year-old.
Right. So if they're gonna, sorry, David, if they're being put, if the flyers are being put in the backpacks, is that at school? And what schools are both elementary schools participating? And will they go home in 5th graders' backpacks? I mean, how's that working?
Claire offered to do this, and that's what I know.
I set it up last year through the Backpack Express, and you called, I think, the central office. I actually spoke to someone, I believe, at Daniel Hand, and it goes through all the elementary schools. It doesn't go to the high school, but it was some central office, and I think she was located at Daniel Hand, and it was just done, and it went through the patch as well at the same time.
Oh,
Yeah, I think Michael was onto something important there. I really like the flyer that Claire designed, and my only recommended edit is to put in, it doesn't have to be in big letters, but just somewhere to put in like a recommended age range or grade range. Because when it says kids, that could mean anything from like 2 to 18, right?
Yep, good idea.
Or maybe just like a max and under, just because you
Right.
don't want somebody who has like a 2-year-old to not come with their 6-year-old.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So maybe it
Yeah.
could just say something like 12 and under, or 10 and
Right.
under or something. Like
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
not going to get 12-year-olds. I have a 12-year-old. Well, I might drag him there, but you're not going to get 12-year-olds, but you might get like 10 and unders.
Yeah, 10 and under.
Cool. So
Can
what we're
we-
gonna do is, what I'll do is I'll send out an email and I'll include people that have expressed an interest of being on that. I am extremely happy to sort of get the event. I'm an operational guy. I get the event running, you know, as far as publicity, some of the questions you've asked, other things I'm gonna ask for anybody else that if they've got experience with it, can they help out? Because like I said, I'll run the event, I'll be there on the event, but some of this other background stuff is gonna look for some help on that. So,
Can we,
any others? Any other
yeah.
ideas?
Dan, I was thinking, we want the 2 open lots to be good events, of course, but we, like Ginny reminded us last time, we don't want to use all our fun coupons for those and be expired by the time the bike rodeo comes. But we also, I think, can recruit more people if we have some awesome events. So I'm thinking ice cream is pretty awesome, and we have those ice cream coupons. Maybe we can. Do we have any more of those, or can we get more? Do we have anything we could, if only a dozen or so folks show up? I mean,
I think
kids.
we have a bunch left over. Because we got that big donation.
So I mean,
Yes,
I'm thinking
yes.
a kid shows up with a helmet and a bike, and they're looking pretty good. We give them ice cream.
Mhm.
Kind of.
And
like
the one thing
yeah.
and the one thing I will tell you is, from an operational event, I was going to ask the police department if they would want to offer their officers on the bike patrol squad or the motorcycle officer, John, to come and attend. It would be a great additional opportunity for them to distribute those. Again, we'll see what the first one's like. If the first one's, nothing, then we can change and do what we want for the second. If the first one's kick, we can really ramp for the second one and for the rodeo.
Cool. That's great.
Cool. So, any other questions for open parking lot days? Okay, so I'll set up a separate email thread. And then for bike rodeo, and again, I was going to follow very similar event setup model as last year. And for those of you who were there last year, we had 6 stations going around the parking lot. Although I thought the parking lot was going to be too small, it turned out to be perfect. I'll invite the police. I'll invite a fire truck. We did not have food last year. We had about 15 kids actually end up showing up. I think maybe by doing it later in the day, as we've decided, as well as later in the calendar year after events, we may have a better chance. So we'll see what happens. But it was going to be very similar. For that event, we will need significantly more volunteers. We can partner with anybody. But we'll probably need at least 15 to 20 different volunteers. That's two volunteers at each of the stations, plus a welcome table, plus probably 3 or 4 others for setup and breakdown. So that will be where we really want to call in some cards for maybe some other groups or something like that. I've got a list of about 40 bikers that I'll reach out to. Again, they helped us with the helmet sizing and the bike safety check stations last year. But we'll see what happens. But so that is June 24th. We do have a rain date for that. That is June 25th. I've got a Grateful Dead concert that afternoon, so I'm going to be doing it and then out of there. If that's the case, it's not going to rain. What else?
What are the times for that one?
That's still 12 to 2.
Okay.
And again, those times were adjusted from an earlier morning one because we sort of thought we must have been bumping into like T-ball or something. We're not really sure. But we picked a later calendar date for the rodeo. And again, this is going to be this one might be one where, and again, I didn't spend any time on this last year, but we had Shoreline Greenway Trail had a table. The Knights of Columbus had a table. This might be something worth, going out and soliciting other like-minded town, nonprofits or organizations. Let them put up a table if they can contribute 3 volunteers or something like that. And it makes it into a cool event because then you get closer to critical mass. So open for ideas on that. That's a long ways off, 4 months, but it's a long ways off. And I'll set up a separate email chain for that as well. And I think that is my report. Yep. Any questions?
That sounds good.
Sounds good.
And then new business, if there's any new business. No, everyone's ready to go to bed. The only thing that I've been thinking about, so I'm a terrible runner, but I've been trying to run a little. And when I run around town, the one thing I've been noticing lately is that our bus stops are terrible. And I'm talking for the Route 1. I mostly see them around Route 1. And I'm just wondering if that's something that our group can address. I'd love to see better infrastructure for the people that rely on public transit. I feel like it's, you see somebody standing on the side of the road next to a little sign and you hardly realize that it's because they're waiting for the bus. So it's just, no answers tonight, but just something to think about. I think that there's something we could do to address that, and it could benefit all of us. I'd hate to, even if it's a bench or a cover if it's raining, but it seems like it's a underserved area of our self-powered or public transit.
I agree.
I think
Definitely.
that's a great idea.
Yeah, I live on Lover's Lane, so I love being able to walk to the train station and then take the train into New Haven and then even into the city sometimes. It's like, if I can get into Grand Central without having to use my car, I feel like I'm like cheating somehow. So, for those that need to rely on public transit, if we can just make it easier for them to walk, or ride their bike to the bus stops. I know, a lot of the people that rely on buses and public transit, they tend to be underserved folks in the society. So, they're walking and riding bikes and taking buses, and it's but if you haven't seen some of these bus stops, and it's not just Madison, but it's everywhere. It's oh, cool, ski bus, nice. It's keeping the dream alive. What a tough winter for that. But just something to think about. I went by one the other day and it was raining in front of Academy Street right there, and there's a bus stop, and somebody was just standing there in the rain just on the side of the road, and I was like, wasn't even sure what the person was doing, because it's like such a terrible place to stand.
You bring up a really good point, because there's a couple of bus stops down on my end of the post road, and there's no marking. I've never noticed a marking that it is a bus stop. Just occasionally you see somebody standing there and they're waiting for a bus.
I think there's little signs. They're like this big, and it's like a no parking sign, except I think it says CT something.
It's CT Transit who has that line on the post road.
Yeah.
And the rest is handled through Estuary Transit District. So that would be funded through CT Transit, most of the bus stops. You could see in front of Barbary Hill Farm, it looks like they excavated out a lovely little area to put a covered waiting area, a bus stop,
cool.
but never installed it. So it's just a flooded mud pit once we
That's
get
what
flooded.
that's what I was thinking. That area is
Yeah.
always well, it's
They are doing initiatives. Most of them are directed in other communities. We have such a small line. That's something that we're trying to explore as far as expanding our bus route. We have a current survey out to see if anybody even knows what public transportation services we offer in town, but a lot of those within the state right of way and on CT Transit route, it would be coordinating with them, and they would likely use the funding that they have to install the bus stops.
That feels like an Eagle Scout project.
What's that?
I said, it feels like an Eagle Scout project to me.
Yeah.
There's not that many bus stops, get some benches built, get
I
a
know. Would that be something
enterprising Boy Scout on it.
would that be allowable?
I don't really know. honestly. It's in the
'Cause that'd be-
state right
that'd
of
be
way.
great. I agree.
I don't know.
But that would be a good part of the Eagle Scout project, is to do the research to figure out what you have to
Yes,
do.
I mean, put it in their
Yeah.
hands to sort it, but yeah.
That would be a really good one. I mean, because there aren't that many stops in town. So
We could even suggest there be a bike rack there so that people could ride their bikes to the bus stop and lock them up with the bike rack and get on the bus.
yeah.
Well, the
well,
buses now have the bike racks in the front, a lot of them,
Oh, do
to,
they?
yeah, to bring
Yeah.
your bike on.
Yeah, I think it would be great because it's definitely something, and then also it's something for us to keep kind of in the front of our minds when we're looking at our east-west routes or north-south routes, having these little drop-off points to get to the public transit so that people can get to their jobs elsewhere or get into town if they need to. I know we already do that with the train station, but just the bus stops threw me off. So wanted to bring that up. All right, well, I believe we made it to the agenda. Anybody else have anything? Nope.
I think I just uploaded the slides. So if someone's on the G drive, take a look and confirm that they're uploaded.
Great.
All right, cool. So now what do we do, Jenny? Motion to adjourn?
I just adjourned the meeting, but you can do a motion if you want.
No, if I have the power, I'll just send us all home.
It made me feel very powerful every time I did.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for hanging with me, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.